Ireland is at the precipice of the biggest economic crisis facing this country since the banking crisis. And the tariff war has the potential to destroy tens of thousands of Irish jobs, significantly cut back on GDP and hammer the budgetary income of the state. Now, what's happening in Europe is actually quite frightening. We've heard the French President, Macron, call on the EU to take a tougher stance, and the EU is hardening its position in terms of the tariff. Now, the approach of those countries that are less exposed to Ireland seems to be having more of an influence. It's really unclear, Taoiseach, at this stage, if this government has had any influence in relation to that process. The government lobbied the EU to avoid a tax on bourbon. The government lobbied the EU to avoid a tax on, or a tariff on US aircraft and plane parts, to avoid medical devices, to avoid the agri-food sector in relation to retaliatory tariffs. Yet all of those sectors are now in the target for EU retaliatory tariffs. Bourbon, Boeing and butter are a focus of the EU in relation to this. And this is a really big difficulty. Like, you're talking about the aircraft leasing sector. It has a €300 billion value in this state, 10,000 aircraft located here. Medical devices has €16 billion worth of exports. The whisky sector currently is stopping production right through this state at the moment. Now, there has been a beeline of Irish ministers, rightly so, to the EU to see could we put pressure on the EU to take Ireland's interests into consideration into this. But they haven't. Other than purebred horse racing, Taoiseach, there's precious little in this particular plan by the EU for Ireland. Now, there is no French-American vote. There is no German-American vote. There's no EU-American vote. But there is an Irish-American vote. And when you were in the Oval Office, Trump basically admitted that that was the case. We need to use that leverage in terms of our influence with the United States to build a bridge between the US and the EU in relation to our national interests.
Your entire 3 minutes was the European Union is doing this, the European Union is doing that, the French have more influence than the Irish. Please. It's absolute nonsense, if you don't mind me saying so. There's no evidence, by the way, in terms of what you said, that France and others have got the way. They haven't, actually.
Taoiseach, every day you come into this chamber and you answer a different question than the one is actually asked from yourself. You are the king of deflection when it comes to these issues. And the reality is this issue is far too important. There are tens of thousands of Irish jobs at stake. And your government is at the back of the class when it comes to influencing the EU Commission in terms of how it structures its retaliation in terms of tariffs.